Starfleet didn't start this war.
Of course you did. The moment you decided to boldly go where no one had gone before.
Hi, I'm Rose at 3Digitalis and I just watched the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery. Choose your bane. I'm noticing a pattern. It's almost as if every other episode is nearly Star Trek, while the others are weird exposition spouting filler things. Alright, let's do this thing. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Captain Lorca is recalled to by Starfleet because they have to tell him in person that the Klingons may have figured out that the Discovery is using an experimental drive. I guess the faster-than-light real-time holographic communications aren't enough to give someone an order. But if Starfleet hadn't called him back for a 30-minute conversation, then we wouldn't have seen our first nameless and lineless redshirt Death or Captain in Peril episode.
In case there are evil and dangerous beings on the planet, they will invariably blast the extra first, giving us time to run away.
Michael Burnham is having stress nightmares about Ripper being in pain. She asks Dr. Culper to investigate and to help her convince Lieutenant Stimmons that Ripper is not only sentient, but suffering. We flip back to Captain Lorca, who's on a Klingon prison ship locked up with new character Ash Tyler, who's been a prisoner and the prison ship's captain's boy toy since the war began. We also meet the first known DOS character, Harcourt Fenton Harry Mudd, who fell victim to a lone shark and was chased into Klingon territory.
Files! Who are you?
The name is Mudd. Harcourt Fenton Mudd Harry, for short. I reiterate. Ouch!
There's also another redshirt, but he's there to tell us that the Klingons have been beating the prisoners to prevent bonding, and he's promptly curb-stomped to death. I'm still annoyed that the series is using post-TNG technology, but if the showrunners don't care, why should I? Oh, and Star Trek drops its first F-bombs and it's actually kind of forced. The writing in this episode is better, but the dialogue still doesn't feel natural.
You guys, this is so fucking cool. So sorry.
Meanwhile, Sarah is anxious about being in command of the ship and asks the computer to monitor him and score him compared to the most decorated captains in Starfleet. Appropriately, 3/5 of the less commanded enterprises.
We can't be afraid of the wind, Ensign. Take us to Warp 4.
Mr. Spock, as long as I am aboard, I am senior officer. I hate to pull rank, but you will be capable of command only for a few minutes, not long enough to complete the maneuvers necessary to take us home.
What are we running here? A cadet ship number 1? Are we ready or not?
All decks are ready, sir.
Engage!
Captain Dennis interrogates Lorca using the Kubrick method, and it's boring but fast. Meanwhile, the Discovery crew track down the captain, but Ripper predictably forces himself, herself, itself into a freeze-dried coma after getting them to his location. Lorca and Tyler escape and decide to leave the untrained civilian behind because he used what skills he had to keep from getting beaten, setting up the inevitable confrontation with Mudd later in the series, because leaving Federation citizens to be tortured and probably murdered is in the Starfleet Charter.
I'm coming for you! You hear? You haven't seen the last of Harcourt Fenton Mudd!
It's here that we learn the Klingons attended the Imperial Stormtrooper School of Weapons Handling. Gets to beat up his sexual assaulter, but then Lorca accidentally shoots off half her face, leaving her screaming because the only thing less dangerous than a humiliated enemy is a humiliated and scarred for life enemy. Lorca and Tyler escape and are picked up by the Discovery. Saru orders them to use the fungus drive, not knowing Lieutenant Stimmons plugged himself into it instead of trying to wake up the angry creature that can casually kill an entire crew.
He injected himself with a tardigrade DNA compound.
Michael and Saru make up, and Michael and Cadet Tilly release the dehydrated Ripper into space, freeing it, but without giving it any water. But Ripper magically rehydrates itself in the vacuum of space and disappears. Like I said, it's almost as if every other episode is nearly Star Trek. And at 5 hours we're left with several plot holes that don't make any sense. If Starfleet wanted the Discovery to stop using its fungus drive because the Klingons were figuring it out, why did it use the fungus drive to get to Lorca? Why is the Discovery better equipped than the Next Generation Enterprise, but predates the original series Enterprise? How did Ripper rehydrate itself in space? He has to weigh at least 500 or more pounds to throw people and Klingons around that casually. If 70% of its mass is water and it removed 99% of the water mass, 500 times 0.7 times 0.99 divided by 8.4 equals about 40 gallons of water.
The creature has gone into a state of extreme cryptobiosis by reducing the water content levels of its body to less than 1%.
Where did the 40 gallons go and where did it come from? I'm giving this episode 5 out of 10. The series keeps getting near the mark, but then it veers off course. Thanks for watching. This was Rose at 3Digitalis. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Precious! How dare you treat me like one of your xenoanthropology subjects? You're not an enemy, Burnham. You